Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as MrMostDaysOff, and this week I'm disappointed in all of you, but none more than your co-host with the most, Richie the TheWizKid. Rich, you should be ashamed of yourself today.
I'll take a picture of myself and send it to you to make you feel better.
That'll balance things out.
And we'll have a whole wall full of pictures over the years where we all look the same age, too, to balance it out as well.
I love it.
But I'm getting too far ahead. We've got stuff to talk about today. So let me go ahead and throw it back to you. The man, the myth, the big lame. It is Miles.
Hey, it is not lame to brag about how lame I am, okay? But something that is super not lame is our guest today, because we are talking about Marge Be Not Proud, and joining us to discuss this wonderful episode in general that just happens to be a Christmas episode. Joining us today, it is Ryan Feuerhelm. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing all right.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here, man. Welcome to the show. It's been a long time coming.
Yep.
So how are things going today for you, sir?
Going quite well, excited to be on this podcast. Yeah, been listening, been a fan for a while, so it's good to get on.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much. So, Ryan, you are a journalism teacher at an undisclosed high school at an undisclosed location somewhere in this undisclosed area that we're recording from. And you're a Simpsons fan, and I want to talk about that. So first and foremost, how did you become a Simpsons fan? When was your first memory watching the show?
I really can't pinpoint a first one. I remember it coming on 6:30 on Thursdays when it was still Fox 33 before it moved to Sunday nights. But it's like the Simpsons have been there, like video games have been there, and I guess the Sun?
They're about the same age, I think science has determined.
Yeah, cause the Tracy Ullman shorts started, I guess, 2 months after I was born. So when Simpsons Roasting Over an Open Fire came out, I was 2, almost 3, and so they've just always been there. There hasn't been life without the Simpsons, basically.
Yeah, we're both basically in that same boat for the most part. We're just a couple of years older than you, so I was 4, Richie was 5 when the show debuted. And yeah, to me as well, and Richie as well, I mean, I don't at all remember there being a time in my life where Bart Simpson posters and toys weren't in my room.
Yeah, my brother had a stuffed Bart toy, and I think a stuffed Maggie.
Very cool.
It had that hard plastic head, but the soft body, so you could hit each other with it.
What type of household in terms of Simpsons viewership was your family? Because we find that a lot of times that there's the groups where The Simpsons was almost like a family thing that was done together. There's some that it was like a forbidden show, which made it all so much more fun to watch when you were not supposed to be. And then there's the parents that kind of just thought it was a cartoon, so they didn't really know. Like they just assumed it was like any other cartoon. How would you describe your household in terms of being a Simpsons family? Or
I'm pretty sure we were a pro-Simpsons household. I think my mom watched it with us. My dad probably did. I remember some episodes we would watch at my grandparents when some of the new Christmas episodes would come on. So I'm pretty sure it definitely wasn't forbidden. I think it was forbidden after 9 because I was supposed to be asleep, but I had a TV in my room, so I would watch the 10 o'clock episode when it was syndicated on WB33.
Yeah, definitely. It used to be, I think it'd come on at like 6:30 and then again at 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There was that short time frame where it came on for an hour straight, too, which is really awesome.
Yeah,
no one else remember that?
No, that was a
I do.
good time to be a Simpsons fan, yeah. And that was actually, I think I've said this before, that was right around the time that we got a satellite dish, so I actually was able to watch the same 2 episodes back to back. So it'd be like, it would be like watching Marge Not Be Proud and Mother Simpson is what I'm trying to say, and then watching those same exact 2 episodes again back to back, but I would do that like every day after school. East Coast, West Coast feed.
Suckers.
So, Ryan, when we were discussing season 7 and getting you scheduled on to be a guest, you looked over the list of episodes and you chose Marge Be Not Proud. What about this episode was it that you were drawn to?
I thought it was Marge in the country club, so I fucked up. But
Hilarious.
when I started reading the script, I'm like, Marge didn't go to the country club at Christmas. Oh, shit. It worked out, though, because I went back and watched this episode, and I'm like, this is a really good one. And as an adult, just kind of watching it, it was more emotional this time.
Yeah.
So it's a good one.
Yeah, you picked a hell of a good episode. This is one of my favorites of the season, and I'm just going to go ahead and declare it now. It's my favorite Simpsons Christmas episode.
I
can't really think of any other Christmas episodes outside of the original episode that really stand out besides, well, Miles and I have talked about it before, the Christmas tree getting burnt down by Bart.
I also do like the one where it's like whatever the Furby knockoffs are like taking over the world. That one's good too, but this one edges it out.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
Yeah, this one edges out. This one, I think, really hits that Simpsons trifecta that we talk about it from Mike Reese's book. It's like the biggest misquote ever, but this one brings the art, the smart, and the heart.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And that's really what makes a good episode. And the vodka. It really brings the eggnog.
Yes, it does.
That's another important part of this episode. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive into the episode. We're talking about Marge Be Not Proud, which originally aired on January 17th, 1995, which happens to be the very last episode to air in 1995. So we'll be hitting 96 real soon. Also, the title is a parody of the poem Death Not Be Proud, also known as Holy Sonnet either X or 10. I wasn't clear. I'm guessing it's 10, but it did not specify, and I wasn't certain.
I would go along with your assumption on that.
Yeah. We get possibly the best chalk gag to date, or it's up there. I will stop talking about the 12-inch pianist.
Miles!
I know, the show just got vulgar. That's what the little E right by the podcast is for. That's that explicit part. We also get a pretty good couch gag where Homer runs, or the whole family runs into the room. There's this giant plug right in the middle of the living room, and Homer pulls it, and the entire room swirls down the drain. It's really kind of meta and weird and fun, just because it like almost like you see like the ink that they're drawn in swirl down the drain.
And we never heard from The Simpsons again.
That was it. That was the end of the short-lived 7-year series, The Simpsons. Welcome to the
we'll
end
see
of the
you guys
podcast.
on another podcast.
Yeah. Or this one will go on to open up with yet another segment of television, which we know The Simpsons love to do these intros just because it gives them a lot of flexibility with the time of the first act. In this case, we hear an announcer. It's a crusty kind of Christmas, brought to you by ILG, selling your body's chemicals after you die. And by Little Sweetheart Cupcakes, a subsidiary of ILG.
Nobody else have an issue with the KKK?
Yeah, Christmas is spelled with a K, so that is an interesting observation that they do not ever put those letters completely next to each other. We do see Krusty in his festive Christmas attire.
Oh, hi! I didn't hear you come in. Welcome to my home.
I love this because right there you can see Krusty is actually walking by the window of his home. I just did air quotes. That doesn't work on a podcast. I realized partway through, but yeah, for visual effect. You can see Kent Brockman getting ready for the news in the background.
Oh, ho!
He closes up the blinds real quick, trying to cover his mistake.
Say, did I hear some carolers?
And this is really fun for those of you that live in the North Texas area, though, or actually, I guess America, since it's supposedly your team. Cowboys legendary coach Tom Landry shows up with American sensation.
Shoshi. Oh boy.
So I'm an idiot. I didn't realize at first that was a made-up Simpsons character. So I'm like in research mode, like trying to like figure out who all these people are. I'm like, oh, I know Tom Landry. I don't need to do much with him. Who the hell is Soshika?
And with the way they draw certain people, you're like, oh, that's a guest star.
That's what I thought it was like a Latin singer of some sort.
Yeah,
I figured it was a real person too.
I did as well.
Yep, well, it's a Simpsons character made up on the spot for this joke. But it is actually cool. I rib a little. By the time this episode airs, it's, I think, going to be like the Super Bowl. But unfortunately for these two, we are recording the week after Dallas dearly departed from the playoffs.
They did about what I expected them to do, so no harm, no foul.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Just fire the entire coaching staff.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't get my hopes up, so I wasn't upset this year. It was nice.
I don't really follow, but I do distinctly remember a conversation I had with Richie probably, I don't know, months ago, where you told me that you hope that the Cowboys either went all the way or they bombed, but most likely they're going to do exactly what they always do, which is have an average season and then get 2 to 3 rounds into the playoffs and bust out.
Shit, I would love it if they got 3 rounds in.
Yeah, it was 1, maybe 2
Maybe
rounds.
that, okay, well, either way, what I was trying to say is you pretty much nailed it.
Yeah, so I'm terrified about the mediocrity. But we're here to talk about the Simpsons, not our beloved Cowboys.
That's fair. That's fair. I do love that Lisa notes that she thought Krusty was Jewish, and Bart goes on to explain that Christmas is a time when people of all religions come together to worship Jesus Christ. And that's when we get the catalyst for the story of this episode, because Bart suddenly becomes very, very engaged in a commercial that comes on the television. I do have to say I love actually the reactions of the children, the Simpsons children here, with Bart just being completely infatuated, completely zombified over the television, and Lisa really not giving a crap at all. But we see a very 90s video game-ish style of commercial. Lots of action, lots of buzzwords. At one point, a ninja that looks a lot like Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat is actually in hand-to-hand combat with a tank. And yes, I know what I said.
The thing I like about that instance, though, is it had very Mortal Kombat-like, the first Mortal Kombat-like animations where the person ggets knocked all the way over, like they're dead, and then they like magically get back up and start acting dizzy.
Yeah, they just stand there and wobble.
That animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely looks like the character model of Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat 2, because he's got the red and black pants, the spiked bracelets, instead of just the Bruce Lee ripoff from the first one.
Which, funny enough, I believe it was today that they just launched the Mortal Kombat 11 trailer that's going to be coming out in a few months, so that's kind of funny timing just for this game. I'll also say that according to the DVD commentary, which on this one featured Bill Oakley, Josh Weinstein, the showrunners, David Silverman, the supervising director, Steve Moore, the animation director, and Mike Scully, the writer of this episode. And they talked about how at the time they were really trying to make this game seem shocking and over the top. Like it was supposed to be extreme violence that would never fly in a real video game. But as we know, by today's standards, Bone Storm is actually pretty mild.
Yeah, except for the "Buy Me Bone Storm, Go to Hell" part of the commercial, but yes.
It's not just that, too. It's go tell your parents, buy me Bone Storm or go to hell.
Yeah.
That's like that direct marketing that is just so manipulative, especially with children that just, literally can't help themselves.
Yeah.
I wish a commercial in today's age would do something like that. Whoa!
Yeah, but again, Lisa could not give a crap. Bart is literally drooling. He runs into the kitchen where his parents are and screams, "Buy me Bone Storm or go to hell!"
Bart!
Homer goes on to explain that the problem with his behavior is that in this house they use a little word called please, but Bart is too carried away with his excitement at this point, and Marge has to explain that those games cost up to and including $70, and they're violent, and they distract you from your schoolwork.
Those are all good points, but the problem is they don't result in me getting the game.
I know how you feel, Bart. When I was your age, I wanted an electronic football game more than anything in the world. And my parents bought it for me. And it was the happiest day of my life. Well, good night.
Homer's so just, it's perfect. This is a great Homer and Bart moment where you think he's about to drop some insight, and he says exactly what Bart was hoping for. Though I think my favorite part is actually Bart's just inability to process any of the admittedly good points, because none of them result in him getting the game.
I wanted to point out that I had this conversation with my mom numerous times through my childhood. And I have people in this day and age a lot of times talk about how expensive games are, and I always bring up the point, if you're not going for like the collector's edition or the DLC editions, the games really haven't increased in price that much throughout time. I remember paying $60 for Chrono Trigger on my Super Nintendo when I was younger, so I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy 3, which is really Final Fantasy 6, when it came out, I think it was $80 or $90 because they added so many extra megs of RAM for the memory that they charged like an extra $10 for every 8 megs. So yeah, $90 for a Super Nintendo 16-bit game compared to friggin' Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, which are masterpieces, like visually. We would pay $90.
And there are hundreds of hours of content if you want to fully invest into them. I mean, I know people that have been playing Grand Theft Auto since it came out and are still playing it to this day. So you can, and I haven't played Red Dead, but I've heard it's massive and has a crazy explorable world.
It has a 12-inch pianist. And the hilariousness of Homer and the electric football game, because those are always fun to play.
Those are fun. It reminds me of the like stand-up hockey things that you used to see back in the day, where you actually have to move little hockey players around.
Except the little football players just gyrate in circles and just make you crack up the whole time.
It's like they're really bad at dancing.
Yeah.
But yes.
Oh, I want one now.
This is where we get another setup for just a moment that is going to be somewhat heartbreaking later, because Bart is in bed and he's upset because he's never going to get the game, or he thinks he's never going to get the game. And Marge comes in for what is clearly supposed to be their usual bedtime ritual. Tuck-in time! All aboard the sleepy train to visit Mother Goose. Barty stop in Snoozy Land to rest his sweet caboose.
Mom, I'm not a little kid anymore. Tuck-in time is lame.
Well, if loving my kids is lame, then I guess I'm just a big lame.
Mom, it's lame to be proud of being lame.
Well, life is like a box of chocolate.
Mom! No! Mom!
You never know. And I love this because Bart actually puts a metal bucket on his head and starts banging on it with a spoon, screaming, "Stop it," essentially. And when he comes to a rest, finally Marge concludes, "What you're gonna get."
I love that part because it looks like she was actually talking the whole time, but you just hear that actual quote. It's awesome.
Bang, 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 bang. I don't think I've ever actually done this, but I have definitely been in conversations with people that have made me want to do this. And frankly, when I worked retail, I'm sure there was times that the only thing that stopped me was not having a bucket.
Fair enough. Stupid people asking for different kinds of metal in their jewelry because they're allergic to stuff they're already wearing when they don't realize it.
Just people being assholes to retail employees in general, but that's a whole different conversation.
Whole different podcast.
Retail position should be where felons have to go.
Why? They might have like rage-induced moments.
That's fair. That'll keep people in check and on good behavior. You're not going to walk in and mouth off to somebody that may have murdered 3 people. Just saying. All right, fine. Speaking of crime, it would be an absolute crime against Comic Book Guy if Bart were to only pay 99 cents for a copy of Bone Storm, as he sees it's advertised for such in the window. Comic Book Guy goes on to explain that that's the rental fee, and A very sarcastic way that Bart doesn't seem to understand.
Allow me to summarize the proposed transaction. You wish to purchase Bone Storm for 99 cents. Net profit to me, negative $59.
Cha-ching! He opens the cash register.
Oh, please, take my $59. I don't want it. It's yours.
And Bart actually starts to reach his hands into the drawer.
It seems we are unfamiliar with sarcasm. I shall close the register at this point and state that 99 cents is the rental price.
So at this point, Bart's somewhat dejected, but at least he can rent the game until he finds out that, of course, they're out of rental copies, but there are a surprising abundance of Lee Carvalho's Putting Challenge.
Oh.
So, Lee Carvalho's Putting Challenge is actually based on the real NES game Lee Trevino's Fighting Golf, which I have legit never heard of until researching this
Fighting Golf?
Fighting Golf.
Like when Tiger Woods in South Park? That video game?
Yeah, Simpsons did it, exactly.
Yeah, I read up on this game. There's no fighting whatsoever.
Oh.
And it honestly did not look like, out of the golf games available on the NES, I don't think this one was the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
False advertisement.
Though it is notable, on the commentary they mentioned that they actually invited Lee Trevino to be a guest in this spot, so they were actually going to do Lee Trevino's Putting Challenge, but he turned them down, so essentially they just changed it enough to be different.
Yeah, I was, so listeners might know Lee Trevino if they've seen Happy Gilmore, because he is the Hispanic golfer that's constantly just shaking his head at Happy, and he's eventually the one that says Grizzly Adams did have a beard.
Oh my god, I love that movie, and I had no idea that was him. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's him, and
awesome.
He's actually from Dallas, and he's still around the area.
Man, way to bring the facts, dude. That's awesome. I'm a huge Happy Gilmore fan. That's probably, I don't know. I would say that's probably my favorite Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely the one I've seen the most.
For sure.
Journalism major doing his journalism journaling.
Journalistic duty.
There you go. You said duty.
So things are not getting better for Bart. Oh, actually, before we move on, I will point out that Bart has a spiffy purple jacket he's wearing that we've never seen before. I wonder what could possibly be the reason for that wardrobe change.
Because it's cold outside, Miles.
Yeah.
They do point out again on the commentary that anytime you see a Simpsons character, especially one of the core family members, wearing something they don't normally wear, you can be assured it's about to be used for a plot device or a gag joke.
Very interesting. We're coming with the facts today, ladies and gentlemen.
So, Bart's going home, bummed out that he can't get his hands on Bone Storm, but he's got an out. He walks by his best friend's home and realizes, Milhouse has Bone Storm! And we see Milhouse inside holding a controller. His eyes are wide open. His hair is literally blown back. He looks like he's having the most intense gaming experience of his entire life.
This is great! And all I've done is enter my name! Thrill House!
The screen says, welcome Thrillho, which it's really funny to point out. That's actually a common thing. An 8-character limit is a believable choice there. But if he would have just stuck with his real name, it would have fit.
But it's so much better this way.
Thrill House. So Bart immediately is like, hey, cool dude, trying to kind of butter him up a little bit. And of course, he's just wanting to play.
It's only a one-player game.
Then how come it says second player score?
Mom! Bart's swearing!
Oh, what a dick, but clever move on Milhouse's part here. I think this is such a funny, just, parody, or the way that they portray this is so fun. As a former child who played video games, back before everything was like online play and it was a lot of co-op, side-by-side couch stuff, which was great. but there were times when you'd get like a brand new game and you're like excited to get into like the single player or something, and it's like, damn it, I really don't want to do this right now. Let's just do. So Milhouse's kind of troll move here, I think, is very fitting. I don't think that I ever took it that far, and I don't know if anybody who actually did, but I think everybody probably thought of it once or twice.
Especially in like the age of GoldenEye and things like that, where everyone wants to play it nonstop, and there's times where you're like, I have to beat the story on the hardest difficulty, which I forgot what that was. But yeah, there's times where you just wanted people to go home, but you're too nice to tell them.
Were you always, Ryan, obviously you mentioned video games earlier with your brother, Simpsons specifically, and again, this is a non-visual medium, but you have one of the dopest tattoo sleeves that I've ever seen, just video game based, so I'm assuming video games have always been a part of your household as well?
Oh yeah, my mom said she put a controller in my hand when I was 18 months old. I mean, it was shitty, but it was there, so yeah, it's always been video games. And seeing this, Milhouse is a fucking asshole.
He is. What a dick,
it's
right?
It's a fighting game, dude. I mean, you've had a few minutes. You might have an edge up on Bart, you know? Get a few victories in before he's better than you, because he is, because you're a dick.
I will say that in this specific game, like a Mortal Kombat or a Street Fighter, this seems almost a little bit like counterintuitive for that, but it is a funny joke.
Oh, yeah. Because the computer cheats.
Oh, computer always, especially in fighting games. It's the worst. They have the cheapest moves.
Well, they could have done the thing where they switch off every time one of them dies, too. Like, I used to do that in the Mortal Kombats with my friends so we could try to get through the story.
Yeah, that was always a lot of fun to kind of take on the challenges together.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's notable here, too, they never actually specify a game system that Bone Storm is on, but through context clues in this scene specifically, we can see the controller that Milhouse is using is very comparable to the 6-button Sega Genesis controller, and the way it's a top-loaded cartridge is also similar to the Sega design. So It's never specifically claimed, but it is likely a Sega game.
Yeah, and the marketing that they used was definitely reminiscent of what Sega did in the 90s, because the Sega of America would use their advertising to say, we're much cooler than Nintendo. They're lame. They're
Nintendo, or yeah, we do what Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. Great observation. Bart is essentially kicked out of the Van Houten's home because of the cursing. So he wanders around some more and he ends up at the try and save. I love his logic here.
Maybe if I stand next to the games looking sad, someone will feel sorry for me and buy me one.
This is a line written from the real-life belief of Mike Scully that this might happen, and he does claim that he used to do this in a bakery, and he actually says that his mom told him this, that he didn't really remember it, but he was told that it happened, where he would basically always go to this bakery and ask if the sugar cookies were free, and he'd always be told no, but more often than not, he'd put on kind of a sad face, and he'd end up getting a free sugar cookie.
He must have had a lot of those if he doesn't remember anymore. I won't lie, I've tried that before.
It seemed like something you would do.
Yeah. I tried to go look sad in front of something, but mostly it's for my own parents to get it for me.
Sure. The idea of like a stranger coming up and buying something for you is kind of far-fetched.
And scary.
Yeah, because then you belong to that stranger.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
I have a whole bunch in my van.
Oh, boy. Oh, good thing it'll be months before this airs, so you'll have time to do something about that. As Bart's standing by the video game case, which I do have to say, this was kind of a nostalgic moment, because I think this was based on the cases at Toys R Us, where, and probably a few other places as well, but at Toys R Us specifically, if you were buying video games, some places they would have the cards, that you didn't actually have the game cartridge at all, you just get the cards and take it to the counter, but some of them had these plastic, like, sliding doors with holes in them, that were big enough that your hands could go through, but not big enough that the boxes could come out.
And if y'all remember, this contraption was designed to cut off the hands of anyone trying to steal the video games.
Was it? I missed that part. As Bart is sitting there fantasizing about the games he cannot have, he actually sees a kid and his mom come up, and it's just the douchiest kid that you ever will see. The commentary said that this kid was based on basically every kid you see in LA. There's a lot of Gavins in LA, apparently. His kid's mom is asking if he has this game, and he immediately gets attitude. No, Mom, you idiot. I have Bloodstorm, and I have Bone Squad, and Bloodstorm 2, stupid.
Oh, I'm sorry, honey. We'll take a Bone Storm.
Get 2. I'm not sharing with Caitlin.
Gavin.
Bart's response
jackass.
here is fucking great, though.
Wow, that must be the happiest kid in the world.
And at 10 years old, I get it. Like, I feel like at 10, you can kind of see why Bart sees that, but it's just so funny. Another one of those watching it as a kid versus an adult type of thing where not understanding even remotely that definitely that's not a happy household. Money does not buy love. But you know what does buy love? A 4-finger discount. And that's exactly what Jimbo and Nelson are getting, because they come up and show Bart that Nelson has a exact replica jean vest to the one he's already wearing, and Jimbo has a football in his hat, which makes him a good 8 inches taller.
I just like how Nelson's like, it's the kind I like.
And I love Nelson's line too. Shoplifting is a victimless crime, like punching someone in the dark. Bart immediately starts contemplating the idea of taking advantage of that 4-finger discount. He starts having visions in his head of video characters both encouraging and discouraging this action. Luigi pops in his head. Go ahead, Bart. Take the Bone Storm.
The store, she's so rich. She'll I never notice.
We also have Donkey Kong show up.
It's the company's fault for making you want it so much.
My favorite here is Lee. Actually, Sonic's my favorite.
Yeah.
Lee Carvello makes an appearance too, though.
Don't do it, son. How's that game going to help your putting?
That's a valid point. It's not. It's not at all. And then Sonic, though, with a wonderful just Sonic parody.
Just take it! Take it, take it, take it, take it, take it, take it! Take it!
So really obscure connection here, but I thought it was fun and something I did not realize until doing the research. We see the characters Mario and Luigi appear in this sequence, and Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, was actually the narrator in the live-action Super Mario Brothers movie.
I didn't know that.
Wow. I was sitting here trying to think about the movie. Okay. Huh.
That is a movie that is largely panned. Most people hate it. I actually really enjoy that film. I enjoyed it when I was a kid. I remember discovering that it was a thing at like a Blockbuster and being completely excited. It was not at all what I expected, but I still enjoy watching it to this day.
I used to watch it like 8 times in a row.
Oh gosh. We saw it, my brothers and I, while on a family vacation in Mississippi. Our parents dumped us off in the theater while they went and gambled.
The classic babysitter.
Yep.
And what was you and your brother's impression of the film when you saw it?
I haven't seen it since.
Yeah. Okay.
Even that young, I'm like, this isn't good.
This is garbage. All right.
Yeah.
See, I think I've come to realize that I and maybe others are like this too. I enjoy watching movies just for what they are. So even like people are like, "Oh my god, that movie's garbage." I was like, it was entertaining. I'd watch it for 90 minutes.
Not every movie.
That's why I'm a terrible movie reviewer.
You're like Homer the food critic?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. That's exactly right. It's not too bad.
Did y'all catch any of the video games that were in the case?
Yes, and I had intended to write them down and had not, but there was a lot of really funny ones.
I got a few of them. There's Swim Meat, Save Hitler's Brain, Canasta Master, Operation Rescue, Bone Storm, of course, and then A Streetcar Named Death.
Yes.
Yeah. Those would all be top seller. I can't imagine that Conanza for kids would be perfect. Constanza? No, that's George. Whatever.
Yeah. I think the Save Hitler's Brain would be really popular now with our current climate.
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know if we talked about it when Bart actually is having all these visions in his head and thoughts, but the dude that is the retail worker there is a terrible employee because he actually left the freaking case wide open.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's a lot happening here. The bullies planted the idea of stealing, and then the associate that was helping Gavin actually left it. Bart has this moral dilemma, and he decides just to give it a go. I mean, his friends are doing it. What's the worst could happen, right? And he actually does take that video game, sticks it in that jacket we mentioned earlier. That's the reason he was wearing it. And he actually makes it outside. He even has a moment where as soon as he gets past the door, which this was his mistake, because he stops right there and says, "I'm outside. I got away with it. I'm free." And we see a hand fall on his shoulder.
Son, would you open your coat, please?
I don't think this is the kind of coat that opens.
Please step back in the store, son.
And then just to make things worse, the woman we saw earlier, Gavin's mom, is talking about how disappointed and how much terrible mistakes that boy's parents must have made. Shut up, Mom! I will point out that the security guard that snags up Bart is played by Lawrence Tierney, and we're going to talk a lot more about him here in just a bit.
I just wanted to point out that if he happened to notice Bart doing that, then wouldn't he have noticed Jimbo and Nelson as well?
He should have.
Yeah. So
maybe it's about what they're going after. They probably have more eyes on the video games than they do on a football or a jean jacket.
Yeah, but they walked in front of Bart while he was in front of the video game. So I feel like this is profiling Bart here.
Keep it small. I mean, I took a Snickers bar from CVS this earth. I'm kidding. I didn't.
He's not kidding, but way to backtrack.
And that is actually going to bring us to the end of our first act, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be right back after we hear from some buddies of ours.
Testing. Can anyone hear me? My name is Toby, and I'm the host of the Secret Transmission Podcast. We are a show that discusses the paranormal, conspiracies, the supernatural, UFOs, cryptozoology, and anything else weird. Our show is transmitted to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter for updates at SecretTransPod. So get ready to put on your tinfoil hats and come learn with us as we try to explain the unexplainable.
Hey guys, I'm here to talk about a serious problem today. One that can affect us all. But it's also a problem that can be fixed with everyone's help. I'm Richie the WizKid, and I'm talking about podcasts. So many podcasts in the Somebody's Network need your help. They are being malnourished. Some are living in terribly harsh conditions, and some are Canadian. But with your help, a corner can be turned for these poor podcasts, especially in regards to Best Darn Diddly. You can go to popthreads.com and use the code Simpsons at checkout. Or you can buy Best Darn Diddly merch at tpublic.com. Most importantly, you can go to patreon.com/bestdarndiddly to donate now for as little as $1 a month. For less than 4 cents a day, you can bring a smile to these poor podcasters' faces. So let's work together to end the poverty of these podcasts. Let's be honest, you were probably just going to get a Krusty Burger with that dollar anyways. Cut to the pictures of starving podcasts.
The moment of joy that Bart briefly experienced when he escaped the store is very, very quickly diminished as he's being drugged to the offices of the Try and Save by this very burly security guard. He's sat down on a shitty chair at a shitty desk looking at a shitty TV, and we see Shoplifters Beware pop up on the screen, and it's a visit from none other than Troy McClure.
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might remember me from such public service videos as Designated Drivers, The Life-Saving Nerds, and Phony Tornado Alarms Reduce Readiness. I'm here today to give you the skinny on shoplifting, thereby completing my plea bargain with the good people at Foot Locker of Beverly Hills.
We learned that shoplifting actually has origins in Phoenicia, where thieves would literally lift the corner of a shop in order to snatch the sweet, sweet olives within. Confession, I Googled this just to make sure it wasn't actually real.
Oh,
It's
Shakazab Maresh. What does that say?
But the security guard, Brodka, very quickly interrupts this, pounding the TV off. All right, show's over. He goes on and essentially starts grilling Bart, making him admit what he did. Don't smart off to me, smart guy.
I could pay for the game. I'll pay for it.
You know that kind of mush might fly at Lamps Plus, but don't peddle it here. That's it, Mr. Comedian. I'm calling your parents. And this scene's wonderful because we see Bart is looking mortified. He knows he's about to be screwed, and we hear a conversation happening. We assume with one of his parents. It's Brodka talking on the phone. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Simpson. This is Detective Don Brodka from Try and Save Security. That's right, Don Brodka. Your son Bart has been caught shoplifting. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a shame, I know, but, well, try and have a Merry Christmas.
Click.
They weren't home, but I left a message on their answering machine. That's right.
It's great that they doubled down on that to cover it up.
This sequence inspired a whole diatribe by Josh Weinstein on the absolutely insane experience that it was working with Lawrence Tierney. He actually quoted that Lawrence Tierney was the most insane guest experience that they ever had.
Really?
A little bit of note on the history of this guy. He was actually a well-known actor in the 1950s. So he's an older fella, and he was always known for playing big, burly, tough guys, and he was also known for being somewhat of an asshole. In fact, he was so mean, he actually got kicked out of Hollywood at one point, which, according to the commentary, like, you don't understand how awful you have to be of a human being to get kicked out of Hollywood because it's such an awful place. But this guy managed to do it. He had somewhat of a career revival when Quentin Tarantino made Reservoir Dogs because Lawrence Tierney played essentially the ringleader. I remember him most at the breakfast sequence at the beginning of the movie, but he's the older gruff gentleman in that group. But there was a lot that happened with this recording experience, and they said that they would never have dared said anything like this at the time, but between the time they recorded this episode and the recording of the commentary, he died, so they feel relatively safe.
Kind of.
They talked about the fact that he just had a demeanor about him where he was very serious, very stern, very serious. He got a ride in because he was an older gentleman. So he got a ride to the studios from a limo driver. And upon arrival, the limo driver said that he refused to take him home and he left. when they were working on the lines and the scripts, there was at one point somebody was eating a snack and he just berated them, telling them to shut up because they were rehearsing. And finally, he refused to participate with any jokes that he did not understand. And it just seemed like no matter how many times they explained the concept of this phone call that nobody was really there, he just did not get it. So, to finally get the line out of him, this whole conversation, Josh Weinstein had to actually write lines for Marge Simpson that he knew would never actually be in the show, and then read them with him so that he would give the performance that they needed.
Well, I mean, that's smart thinking, at least.
With all of that said, they still say that Don Brodka is one of their favorite characters that they ever created, and that it would have only worked as well as it did because of the gruffness of Tierney's performance.
Yeah, I think today's equivalent would be Jonathan Banks, the guy who plays Mike on Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah, that's a good... I don't know anything about the guy personally. Does he have a reputation for being gruff and mean, or is you just mean from the characters that he plays?
Yeah, just the characters he plays, because he's in Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. He was on one episode of Parks and Rec, and he's just this gruff asshole.
Yeah,
he's the gruff.
Yeah,
he's the gruff teacher on Community in the 4th or 5th season.
Yeah, that's right.
And I haven't seen it in years, but apparently he was Deputy Brent in the Gremlins movie.
Really?
Yeah, but I have not seen that since I was a kid.
Man, I usually watch that every Christmas, but I did not watch that this year, so I'll have to check that out next holiday season. Because that's the only time you're legally allowed to watch Gremlins.
Just like Die Hard.
Which actually, yeah, exactly, just like Die Hard. Actually, I didn't mean for that to happen. That's a good segue to another comment from IMDb, actually, a fact from IMDb. Something we haven't really talked about yet, but this was actually the first Christmas episode since the pilot episode, and to some extent it was something that they had always purposely avoided because of the fact that they knew how much there was correlation wise between the pilot and it being Christmas, so it just seemed like something that they didn't necessarily want to tread on. But this story all came to be because the writer Mike Scully was writing from personal experience. He actually, as a child, went to a store where his friends pressured him into shoplifting. He did it. He was the one out of everybody that got caught. It was this whole thing. He ended up getting in trouble, and that's where the story kind of separated. He actually, they just called his parents, and he was in all sorts of trouble. His dad was pissed. His mom was disappointed. The rest of this came from, just what if it would have been, I tried to avoid getting in trouble first type of thing. But I say all that just to bring up that this kind of felt like a perfect tie-in to the Christmas holiday, but I think what works so well about it is Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire is a lot more Christmas themed, where this one has Christmas happening, but it's more in the background than it is actually a part of the plot.
Very astute observation, Miles. I have an astute observation as well.
Is it that these crackers do really break that easy, and it was super frustrating in the 90s when you'd get those for lunch and your crackers all broke?
No. Why did Bart actually give him his last name?
That's true. He could have lied. He doesn't have an ID on him.
Yeah, you gotta have a fake name like Drew McDaniel.
Or give him a fake phone number or
that
something.
Yeah.
Like call like he knows Milhouse's number. My name's Van Houten, and then Milhouse gets in trouble. It sounds like something he would do, right?
It does. It actually sounds like something that would happen to Butters on South Park, and then Butters would actually get in trouble with not being able. But Dad, I wasn't even at the store today.
You are grounded, Mister.
We get this fun little sequence since Bart now realizes that he was not. His parents didn't actually answer. It was put on a recording, so he could race home and beat them to the recording.
You talk about
before he. Yeah, that's right. Before he leaves, though, he's told that you are forbidden from ever coming back to the try and save. You understand it, or what is it? He says, "You understand everything I'm saying."
Everything except capiche.
To be fair, I didn't realize until reading it today that that's how capiche is spelled.
Yeah, I thought that looks completely wrong to me for some reason.
Kapisky.
Yeah,
that's what it looks
Kapisky.
like.
It does.
Did y'all see, like, on a Brodka's wall, there's a certificate, Try and Save Security School?
Yes. He's in too deep at this point.
So we get a little bit of a Ferris Bueller parody sequence going on here where Bart is racing home on his bike. We actually see the rest of the Simpsons family coming home in the car. Bart's trying to take every shortcut he can, but gets to the house, and it seems, from our perspective, that Homer's about to catch him in the act because he notices the answering machine is blinking. That's funny. We didn't have a message when we left. How very odd. He pushes the play button, and the message starts to play.
Hello, mother. Hello, father. Here I am at Camp Granada.
Marge, is Lisa at Camp Granada? We see Bart up in his room, and he's hiding the real recording tape somewhere it will never be found, which is in the Alan Sherman Camp Granada case.
But what happens when Marge and Homer find out that tape's inside the recorder and tries to put it back?
Yes, that is a very big flaw in this plan, isn't it?
I will say, I have done this to my mother ever since the first time I saw this episode. When there's a lot of times where she'll call me, and I'll literally pick up the phone and go, "Hello, mother," and now she sings it with me.
Aww, that's sweet.
And I go, "Are you at Camp Granada?"
Adorable. Very, very sweet, Rich, but not as sweet as the delicious eggnog that is only available for 30 sweet noggy days until the government takes it away again.
Those bastards, they can't get anything right.
It's a conspiracy. I'm sure, you know what, if they haven't already, our friends over at the Secret Transmission podcast need to look into the Nog Conspiracy. Where does it go from the months of January through November, Rich? I want
it. I would love it if it was year-round, but I'd be a lot more diabetic-y.
I bet you since the government shut down, there's still some Nog somewhere.
Oh that's shit. We should go on a road trip.
Secret government shutdown Nog. That's the good stuff right there.
Right. Time to stop.
So I do want to back up just a second, Richie. You do realize, like, maybe I'm the wrong one here, but diabetes isn't on a spectrum, brother. Like, it is or it isn't.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out finally to me after 26 years.
Just saying, you're like, I'm going to be more diabetic. What does that even mean? I actually, for what it's worth, think Nog being sold in December is the perfect amount because I basically buy a half a gallon every year. I drink like 2 cups and I'm kind of over, like I enjoy it and then I'm kind of over it.
Blasphemy.
I also do love, though, the entire fridge, literally. Homer has stockpiled it with nothing but Nog, and Lisa's even eating her cereal with eggnog and complaining of chest pains.
Yeah, that's a little excessive right there.
The look on her face, the animation's great.
It really is. And juxtaposed with Lisa's misery, Bart comes down looking like he is shooting for the moon. He is happy as a clam. He is just super excited. And suddenly his mom's like, "Hey, you should have your suit on."
What for?
"We're getting our Christmas pictures taken."
Yeah, you lucked out, Marge, my man, because I'm in a smiling mood today.
Well, good. So get ready, and before you know it, we'll be at the Try and Save.
Try and save?
And you see the steam pot go off. And the steam is actually, or I shouldn't say the steam pot, because we don't know that yet. I just ruined the joke. Steam is coming out of Bart's ears magically. Where is it coming from? And then we hear Marge explain that her tea is ready, and when we move, it was the teapot coming out, which apparently was actually a very difficult thing to animate, the way it transitions over.
I could totally see that, because you got to talk about like the gap between Bart and the teapot, the angle at which you're looking at it. Yeah, that can become very difficult.
It was very angle specific, which made it a challenge. Bart is looking nervous as he ties his tie, and we actually see him remembering the warnings about how he'll be spending Christmas in juvenile hall if he's caught in the Try and Save again. And he kind of has a daydream where he's in juvie with Tierney, with Kearney, Dolph, Nelson, and Jimbo. They're kind of standing in line for their Christmas presents. It's really kind of a dark, sad thing. They have tokens. They have to put their tokens in to get their present. Everyone's getting excited about things like the March 8th newspaper, a book of carpet samples, but somehow Bart is still holding out for a new bike.
It's from the Port Authority Lost and Found. That's where all the presents were donated from.
Yeah. Oh, a soiled wig. And this part is somewhat reminiscent of the very first episode with the Santa looking through the window. And the first one, it was at the dog track. In this case, it's like juvie Santa passing windows through the glass. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Nope.
Bart is stalling, and it's actually getting to the point where Marge is like, come on, like, we have to get going. And Bart shows up with a fake nose and chin putty.
Wait, but she says if you're having that problem with your zipper, I can send your father up.
No, I'm not.
Oh, boy. Nope. No. Even though it's very clear Bart is hiding his identity, he's still defending it. I don't have to listen to these wild allegations. And his nose falls off and Santa's little helper starts eating it.
Please, Bart. No more pranks. It would mean so much to me if we could have just one nice family photo.
We see a lineup of family photos of Christmas past with things like cross-eyed Bart and Bart wearing a comb as a mustache. The best one by far is Bart holds up a speech bubble by Homer that says, I stink.
Hey,
that's a good prank.
I don't remember saying that.
This is what I alluded to at the top of the episode, where if these were all Christmas photos, they look the same age in all of them, so you'd have to assume it's different times in the same year, which means she should have learned her lesson by now. Marge should have.
These all happened in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Another bit of just great animation and use of sound effects here, because Bart is feeling caged and Marge literally calls out like, oh, I almost forgot to lock the cars. And we see the car doors all locked. And yeah, it's like a really exaggerated sound effect. Bart's hearing voices of Brotka in his head. I hope you're going to the Valley Vista try and save, kid, because you don't want to come to my store. Capiche?
Yeah, to me it always sounds like he just says catfish it always makes me laugh.
It's how it's spelled. Yeah, it's like catfish. I tried to like mispronounce it, but it sounds like catfish.
But I love how they throw back to the fact that Bart doesn't know that word. Like, it's such a small little nuance, but for some reason it always makes me smile.
Yeah. Another thing pointed out in the commentary that's fun is in the backseat of this car, there are cigarette ashtrays, which are almost non-existent in modern day cars. At least in the backseat.
Well, where else is Bart going to smoke his cigarettes?
True. Bart's still stalling all the way through the parking lot, and he's trying to kind of make the case for, like, let's get in and out. Bada bing, bada boom.
I want to look at the pets and write things on the typewriters and see if the new dictionaries are in.
Okay.
I want to buy some flip-flops and smell the new tires and consult a pharmacist for some free medical advice.
Sure. We're going to have a great day. Bada bing, bada boom. Right, Bart? Bart? What's wrong, honey?
Uh-oh. Somebody's got tired little legs.
And Homer scoops up Bart and puts him up on his shoulders. Bart looks, again, the facial expressions during all of this is just fantastic. Sometimes I'm just blown away by the amount of emotion that they can tell through just the Simpsons faces. Bart is on Homer's shoulders now. Homer is like a little kid in a grocery store, I guess. But he's going and looking at everything and wondering where the flip-flops are. But the whole time, Bart sees and is just trying to dodge the security camera. And no matter what, it seems like every time Homer makes a move, he's putting Bart more and more in focus.
I love how he finally decides that the flip-flops are probably in better living.
Yeah. Bart actually finds a place to kind of hide for a second when he sees a folding chair kind of tucked in a corner. But as soon as he sits in it, like lights and sirens are going off. Folding chair riot, $9.99.
Or if you're Miles in the middle of the night waiting for the PS3 to come out, free. Oh wait, did I name
don't
the
know what
company?
you're talking
It
about.
wasn't a.
Mr. Black. Even Marge is daydreaming at this point because she's looking at the jewelry section and she points out an idea, trying to give Homer a big hint. Oh, homie, look at that watch. I've always wanted a watch like that.
Well, maybe someone will give you one for Christmas.
Now she'll really be surprised when she opens that ironing board cover.
Good strategy, Homer.
Oh, Homer.
My God.
Bowling ball, the second act.
Yikes.
I know they don't write Homer dumber than a dog, but this episode, it's borderline.
It's pushing it.
There wasn't a message on the answer. Yeah, he's bad this episode, but it's great. It's greatness.
Well, have you ever had a dog that, like, chased its own tail and ate its way through walls and, like, sometimes would just bump into things or fall over? Because he's kind of on that level right now.
Yeah, he's not the show dog. He's the...
No, definitely not. He's no laddie. The Simpsons family finally makes it to the portrait studio, and immediately Homer gazes a fake Time magazine cover with Ned Flanders, Man of the Century.
Must have been a pretty slow century.
The family's getting ready to pose for the photo, and Bart notices in the distance the store detective is making his way through the aisle, so he's trying to rush things along. But of course, Marge is having problems getting Maggie situated, so the photographer does his best to get a smile on that baby's face. He grabs a balloon and takes a big suck to try to get his hair nice and high-pitched. Okay, Sugar Plum, it's time to meet Mr. Funny Voice. And, I did the wrong line. Okay, Sugar Plum, it's time to meet Mr. Funny Voice. Then he takes the big breath. Hello! Oh, it's just regular air.
That's one of those where we should have just ended that joke on your first take.
It'll go in. I'm not cutting it. Some people point out on the message boards that it seems like they gave this character, this photographer had like an almost like lot amount of screen time, and they actually originally had more character. Like he was going to have a bigger part in the episode, but they eventually realized he was just unnecessary and kind of taking up time, so it got reduced greatly.
Oh, they could have just gone with no commercials.
I don't think they do that. You pointed out a lot of things that are in the background that have been funny. One of the things that stood out in this scene to me was the Flanders family is apparently like that ideal family where they put all of your pictures and your photographs as their displays, because pretty much every family photo that they had as like their advertisement featured the Flanders.
Or they're the only family that's gone in there and were willing to let their pictures be used.
All possible. Unfortunately, though, as the picture's being taken on the count of 3, this is the exact moment where Brodka grabs Bart and yanks him out of the photo.
What a dick move, too. Like, let the picture get taken.
Wait till 3! Yeah, totally. You can have a memory of that moment right before you found out your son was the... But that would literally, like, that sets up one of my, in fact, I wrote down as my absolute favorite moment is at the end. We're going to get to it. We already referenced it, but this sets up a really great visual analogy that I love. But
where the rest of the Simpsons get yanked in a picture and they frame them all together.
That's right. I do really love, though, there's something sweet about the fact that Homer and Marge both immediately jump to Bart's defense and, basically call out Brodka and say, you need to, you better have some evidence for this. My son may not be perfect, but I know in my heart he's not a shoplifter.
Well, we also got Brodka's line where he talks about the 11th commandment, which I never knew about, even though we had a Simpsons episode literally about the 8th commandment.
Yeah, it's true. 8, 11, who's counting? But yeah, Marge is even calling him out. Fine, play the tape. Then everyone can see that you're wrong. You've got the wrong boy. As the surveillance tape starts to play, Bart tries to block it, and he under the gun, he admits, no, Mom, I'm sorry, but I did it.
It's the way he says I did it, though. Like
it's a heartbreaking moment.
But it's what sets up the entire feeling of the episode, because it's not so much that he was upset about getting caught, because he wasn't really that scared outside of his parents finding out, and it's the whole thing where it's not like I'm mad at you, but I'm disappointed in you, that it's such like, that's why he's upset right now.
Sure. And unfortunately, his efforts to block the tape don't work, because behind him on the wall of TVs on every monitor, we see Bart very clearly taking apparently the only purple copy of Bone Storm. Every other edition was green, but he must have been going for that special edition box. But yeah, sure enough, he grabs the box, puts it in his coat, and he's caught red-handed, and Marge is not mad, but it's that old adage that it's not bad when your parents are mad at you, but when they're disappointed, it's the worst. And Marge is the most disappointed we've ever seen her. That is actually what brings us to the end of our second act, with a very, very nice music cue from Alf Clausen, who they give credit to for both this episode. They say that Alf always does a great job, but specifically this episode and Mother Simpson. There's a touch that he added with his music to the episode that gives it so much more emotional weight. And I think that's very true in this scene, because the music amplifies the animation and the look on Marge's face, where, I mean, it screams disappointment.
Disappointment!
Exactly. So on that note, don't be disappointed, because we will be right back after a quick break.
Okay, MrMostDaysOff, now we're ready for the TeePublic ad.
Head over to tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly right now to support our show. Get yourself some Best Darn Diddly merchandise and help grow our podcast. I messed up there. Can I get another take?
Okay, just a second. Out of the way, amateur. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to patreon.com/bestdarndiddly. Go to popthreads.com and save 15% with the discount code Simpsons. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to bestdarndiddly.com to get all your podcast needs from the greatest show on earth. Learn from a professional, kid. All right, Krusty. We're ready for your take. Krusty?
Hey everybody, we are the Derailers, Goobs, Ripken, and Jenny Bean, and you can join us once every week for a brand new derailment. It includes sidetracking, randomness, we just can't stay on topic.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Derailers.
And please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and also on YouTube.
Derailers! Back for our third act, and right off the bat, the first thing I have to say is, rewatching this episode, I was surprised that it took this long to get to Bart getting caught.
Yes.
I, for some reason, thought this happened much, much earlier. Like, I was thinking this was the end of the first act break, and we still had 2 acts to go, but at this point, we actually have very little episode time left for a lot of resolution, it would seem.
What I want to point out is this is kind of Marge's fault, because Bart literally told her, buy me Bone Storm or go to hell.
Or go to hell.
And now she is living in her own hell.
I hope you're joking, but I really don't know. I could see you reasoning that out somehow in your mind. Yeah,
doing these
totally
mental
Marge's fault.
gymnastics.
Yeah, you like those. All right, well, I love Homer in bed here. That sounds weird, but it's true. It's so true. Because he's obviously upset with Bart chastising him. How could you? Haven't you learned anything from that guy who gives those sermons at church? Captain What's-His-Name? We live in a society of laws. Why do you think I took you to all those Police Academy movies? For fun? Well, I didn't hear anyone laughing, did you? Except for that guy who made those sound effects. Woo, woo, where was I? Oh yeah, stay out of my booth. And I realize now that wasn't the scene where Homer's lying in bed. So, my bad. That comes later and is also funny, but this one was just in the kitchen, I think it was. Again, though, Bart honestly doesn't really seem to care that Homer's mad at him. That's
Forgot the reason why he was
relatively
mad.
True. But what's really upsetting him is he's apologizing to his mom. He says, "Mom, I'm really sorry." And Marge is completely emotionless. And props to Julie Kavner in this episode, because it's actually more than anything. I mean, I guess we should know that from the title, but there's a lot of Marge in this, and the way that she is able to portray Marge as neutral towards Bart. Neutral is actually really difficult to express, and the way she does it is really captivating when you know how much she cares for Bart.
Yeah, and the thing I like about to touch on what you said is that they could have done this where like she gets naggy at Bart or something like that, and it would have been a completely different feeling in this episode. And the fact that she hits that so perfectly is what puts all the emotion. It's kind of funny. The fact that she's neutral gives it more emotion is what I'm trying to say, which I love.
Yeah. It's kind of like how artists will use like the absence of color or like the absence of space to create space. It doesn't really make sense, but it works.
We're getting deep today on the Best Darn Diddly Review Show.
It's abstract Simpsons. So it can be anything.
All right, let's get back to being funny.
Marge is actually hanging up the photo, and you can tell she's not really thrilled about it. She puts it on the mantle, and immediately it slides crooked, and she doesn't even really seem to care. Whenever Bart asks if there's anything that he can do, she very emotionlessly is like, "I don't really know. I guess you can go to bed."
Okay.
When they're brushing their teeth, Bart and Lisa, Bart is kind of talking things through, and he's upset because he thought Mom was going to scream, but she didn't even raise her voice.
I admit, I haven't known Mom as long as you have, but I know when she's really upset. Her heart won't just wipe clean like this bathroom countertop. It absorbs everything that touches it, like this bathroom rug. Whoa.
That rug is so disgusting.
Yeah, they need to toss that thing out. Get that out of the thrill house. Oh. They look at the rug, and Bart is... It's a good visual bit, though, because, again, it's kind of representing how Marge's soul is essentially absorbent, and Bart's worried. Like, really? You think this might be one of those forever type of things?
I don't know.
With brushing her teeth, good stuff. Bart is laying in bed when he hears his mother down the hall doing the normal tuck-in express thing that she does with Lisa, and he kind of groans like, "Ugh, great. I guess it's the bedtime song, whatever." But when Marge comes to the door, she simply says, "Good night," and shuts the door.
She says good night, sweetheart, but there's no feeling behind it.
No, she says good night, sweetheart, to Lisa at
Bart's
Bart's
I'm
door.
sorry.
She just
Yeah,
says,
you're right.
Good night.
You're right.
Yeah. There is like no emotion in her voice at all at this point. And I mean, you can see Bart is, he's starting to realize the weight of what he's done, and it's really sinking in. This is when we cut to Homer in bed. Thank you very much.
But that last scene is really, really awesome with how depressing it is, with how they do the throwback to the earlier
The
bit.
callback to the earlier part of the episode.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, and where Bart doesn't
Tuck-in
like
express.
it, and now it's like the ultimate sign
He
of
misses it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do either of you have any bedtime rituals that you remember when you were a kid that you hated now, or hated then, or didn't hate then, or just remember in general?
No.
Masturbation.
Yeah. I didn't say current. I said when you were a kid. This is when we cut to Homer in bed, as I mentioned earlier, and I will point out they talked about that they think this is the first time they drew Homer wearing glasses.
Oh,
I can't verify that or not, to be honest. Yeah,
Yeah.
When they said that, I was like, oh, I wish I'd been paying attention to that. If only we did some in-depth review show or something where we were supposed to note these types of details. Wonder where we can find one of those. But he's in bed talking, and he's figured out the boy's punishment. First, he's grounded. No leaving the house. Not even for school. Second, no eggnog. In fact, no nog, period. And third, absolutely no stealing for 3 months.
Ugh.
How is he going to live with himself for 3 months? Ugh.
So,
How are you going to acquire things?
I don't have kids, but I've got a dog, and he'll do something, and I tell my wife, I'm like, okay, I'm going to ground the dog. I'm sure you can't ground him. Like, when you undermine my authority, I can't. But around the holidays, I'll say, all right, you're grounded. No nog, period.
Nice.
Well done, sir. Marge is still just more upset than anything. She's kind of listening to Homer, but more so she's kind of talking out her thoughts. I always thought I understood my special little guy, but somewhere along the road, his hand slipped away from mine. And they actually have a handprint of Bart at age 4.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
He's not my baby anymore. Maybe I mother him too much.
Maybe. I don't know. That's a topic for a different podcast. Oh, wait, no, it's a Simpsons term.
This is, but yeah, so we cut to the next morning, and Bart comes down to see the rest of the family is having hot chocolate, and he's kind of like, hey, Mom, you didn't wake me up. And she just kind of hands him a hot chocolate, no big deal. He doesn't have any marshmallows, so Marge explains that she thinks he's probably old enough to do it himself now.
Okay, I can handle that.
I love Bart's confusion in this scene, because legitimately, he's processing this new dynamic between him and his mother, and I don't think he fully gets what's happening. I also love this sequence with him and Grandpa, however, because he drops his marshmallow in the chocolate, and the marshmallow just absorbs all of the hot chocolate, turning into this squishy... It reminded me of, like, the canned cranberry sauce, but instead it was a chocolate marshmallow. So they start slicing it, and Abe, for no other reason, he's in this sequence, just for this one joke, because he's holding his fork and knife and drooling, declaring, hey, give me a slice!
I think Bart's onto something here, though. I mean, this might be a new kind of food snack.
How would that happen, though?
I don't know.
I mean, why would it, like, does Marge have the magic touch? Does she coat the marshmallow in wax first? Like, how does it not absorb?
It's those generic clown brand marshmallows she has.
It's a mother's touch. Bart doesn't have it. Maybe he doesn't have his soul completely back yet when he got it back to Lisa.
Oh, a piece of it still
Yeah,
missing.
I've always wanted my marshmallows to do this, but it never happens.
Maybe you gotta, like, poke holes in them or something, because it would be great.
Well, I mean, the science behind The Simpsons is usually dead on, so that means this is possible.
Simpsons invented it. Well, I mean, essentially, it's a chocolate peep, right?
Okay,
Yeah, I
never
guess
mind, I don't
essentially.
want it.
Yeah.
I ruined it
Yep.
for you. I'm sorry. My bad. Bart's upset, so he goes and has a heart-to-heart with his best friend next door, and he's talking about how, do you ever worry that your mom might stop loving you?
What? I'm more worried about piranhas. Did you see that movie where they send a nuclear submarine to fight the piranhas? And one of them swims right down the periscope and bites the guy in the eye, and he goes, ah, ah, ah! And that old lady told him it would happen?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Hey, how come you're not playing Bone Storm? And this is where we realize that Milhouse has actually gotten bored of Bone Storm, which Bart doesn't even believe at first, but he's like, no, really, you can, like, take it. I
I'm
don't
into
care.
this cup and
I've
ball."
moved on to this ball and cup. I love this because I truly think this is reminiscent of how a lot of us are, probably more so as children, but even now I find this to be true with video games. It's like it's the greatest thing in the planet, you can't wait to play it, it's the only thing you want in life, and eventually it just loses its luster, and you're on to the next thing, something much more exciting, like a ball in a cup.
Yeah, right. You're just trying to trick me because you don't want me playing with your video game.
But it really does work, because then even, like, when Milhouse is like, no, whatever, Bart is like, well, then let me have a turn with the ball in the cup.
Get your own!
And then he screams out this time, just like he did earlier, trolling, or, basically just being a dick, but he yells out to his mom that Bart's smoking.
You smell the smoke?
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't she smell it?
I think Mrs. Van Houten is just, like, ready to assume Bart is doing something terrible.
True.
If Milhouse could harness this kind of attitude towards his mother, I think he would get a lot more of what he wants later in life as opposed to the pushover that he typically is.
Sure. This is actually kind of a sad moment, though, too, because Bart actually asks Milhouse's mom if he can hang out with her while she does mom stuff. And she agrees. She's actually kind of flattered, it seems. So Bart helps her stuff Christmas card envelopes, and Bart gets really, really curious about all of their friends, which is funny. This is just a bunch of random names that they said this is the worst type of thing because they'll spend hours writing these stupid names that don't really matter.
Like Dan and Sherry Adler.
Yep, just friends of ours.
Oh, and who is Warren Burke?
He used to tune our piano before we got rid of it. He grew up in Mechanicsburg.
Oh, really?
And then this is like a sad moment because Bart actually asks if she'll tell him that he's good, and it's just sad.
Ugh.
As he's walking home, though, he gets a moment of joy when he hears laughter from his mom and realizes, hey, Mom's happy again. But when he gets to the house, things have gotten worse because the family, minus Bart, has made snowmen and women. I don't know.
Family.
2019, but it's like looking into a living snow mirror, Homer says. And Bart's upset because they didn't wait for him, but Marge is like, well, we didn't really think you'd mind. I mean, I figured you're getting a little too old for this, but hey, you can still make one. There's some snow left under the car.
Dirty old disgusting.
It's almost as bad as the bath mat.
You didn't touch on the fact that Homer's snowman is like super buff.
Yeah, he's got a six-pack, which that's going to take some time to chisel a six-pack out of
He's
snow.
got hair, too.
This is, again, very depressing sequence when Bart's getting the disgusting snow from underneath the car tires, and he just makes this, like, lump that's got spiky hair. He actually looks in at one point and sees the rest of his family is happily watching television, warm and cozy inside, while he's out in the snow alone. And then, to make matters worse, once he finishes his mediocre at best snow person to begin with, a bird lands on it and it crumbles to pieces.
I think you're overselling how terrible that thing is. It wasn't even mediocre.
Yeah, I think if you were to put Frosty's hat on it and it came to life, it would immediately ask you to kill it.
Yes.
You'd shoot it. Please put me out
Kill
of misery.
me.
Kill me.
Start the reactor.
Bart sees Nelson walk by, and for some reason Nelson's bragging that he swiped yet another thing from the try and save. This time it was a wheelbarrow replacement tire.
Well,
I knew you'd like it.
so random, but you know?
It's so random, honestly. Super weird. But I think it was just kind of funny to point out that, like, Nelson and Jimbo are clearly repeat offenders, stealing from this place all the time, and Bart does it once and gets caught. But Bart's fed up with this. He's tired of everybody thinking he's the black sheep, and he wants to go and show what a black sheep can really do. He actually walks into the try and save now for the third time this episode. Meanwhile, we get another gag or moment right out of Mike Scully's childhood when Lisa and Marge are spraying the Christmas tree with fake snow, and Lisa's actually starting to get dizzy. Mike Scully said that his mom was obsessed with this crap when they were kids. They would always spray their Christmas tree till it was like pure white, which was pointless and looked super fake. And he recalls actually kind of getting a little woozy because of all the fumes.
I hope he told his mother to watch that episode and that he put a little hidden joke in there for her.
Probably. Yeah, I can't imagine that they wouldn't, right? Marge is like, we're almost finished. There's just a little bit of green left, and you can see Lisa's basically catatonic at this point.
And then Bart walks in.
And Bart is kind of being a little bit sneaky, and Marge, it's kind of odd timing, too, because Marge seems like she's kind of warming up to him a little bit again. She's happy to see him, and she even offers if he wants to help spray the cookies. But then immediately realizes that Bart's hiding something, and she wants to know what's under his jacket.
Nothing.
Oh, Bart, not again. Give it to me.
Oh, that was some strange delivery on that line.
Marge's voice is hard. Get over it. Not as hard as Bart.
We're children. We are
Explicit,
absolutely
folks.
children.
Explicit. Yeah.
I told you, I don't have anything.
You can't hide from me in this house, Bart. I spend 23 hours a day here. So fucking random, but such a funny delivery of this next line. Homer closes a baby gate and blocks Bart's path.
Get him, Ma.
He's got like a country bumpkin accent all of a sudden. Like he's been spending the day with Cletus.
And his eyes kind of go crossed after he says it. It's like he's getting off on blocking Bart.
Give it to me.
This is the weirdest scene ever.
So Marge finally corners Bart and discovers that what Bart had done is gone back to the try and save and got a picture taken where he actually looked nice to make up for the one that he ruined, essentially. And Marge is immediately overwhelmed with the love for her, what she sees as a redeemed child. And, oh, sweetie, this is the best present a mother could get. I love you so much, my little bitty Barty.
Aww.
But even though Bart is kind of like fighting it off, you can see in this case he's actually happy that it's happening. And this is my favorite moment. Perfect symbolism for exactly how what's happening emotionally and in this family right now, because Marge puts the new picture inside the old picture, covering Bart up, and just through the magic of this moment, it perfectly balances the picture. Because if you recall, Marge was very upset when she hung it, and it was very crooked, and by placing this, it just naturally balances things, and that's perfect symbolism for exactly what's happening in this episode right now.
What a metaphor. I like that in the actual picture he hands her the receipts taped to it and it says paid in full. Like they pointed that out to make it very clear that it was done the correct way.
No questions at all. They even joked in the commentary that they would have written on there this wasn't stolen, but they felt that was a little too on the nose.
Too soon, Bart. Too soon.
Marge decides that since she got a present early, Bart should get one too. Actually, it's a very small, subtle thing here, but we talk a lot about how much we appreciate that Lisa is probably the smartest 8-year-old in the world, but she's still an 8-year-old, and this is a very 8-year-old reaction of, hey, if he's getting a present early, I want one too.
Lisa, you have to wait.
This is the worst Christmas ever.
Now, I know you love video games, and I asked the clerk which is the one every boy wants.
Bart is so happy.
You got me!
And we see it's Lee Carvello's putting challenge. And Bart immediately tries to put his cringe face into a smile with forced enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah! Thanks, Mom.
Oh. The punishment fits the crime, boys.
It is kind of perfect, and it's sweet that Bart just tries to go with it. Another thing we didn't mention that I think is really, really great is during this whole sequence when Bart's redemption is occurring, we actually get a scene right here at the end where we see the Simpsons family, or the Snowman family, outside, and there's a new layer of snow. So what was once Bart's like brown sludge, he's still monstrous looking and would probably request death if he came alive, but now he's covered in pure white snow and isn't the black sheep of the family. Aww. Metaphorically or realistically. Another fantastic sequence over the end credits, though, maybe arguably one of the best closing sequences, how they do this over the credits, because we actually get Lee Carvello,
the real person,
and Lee Carvello's putting challenge in this like pseudo 8-bit form as the credits go out.
Welcome to Lee Carvalho's putting challenge. I am Carvalho. Now, choose a club.
Beep.
You have chosen a 3-wood. May I suggest a putter?
Beep.
3-wood. Now enter the force of your swing. I suggest feather touch.
Beep, beep, beep.
You have entered power drive. Now, push 7-8-7 to swing.
Beep, beep, beep.
Ball is in parking lot. Would you like to play again?
Beep.
You have selected no.
I don't know why, but just like the robotic nature of this and how boring it would be, and the fact that Bart's playing the game probably the way that any 8 or 10-year-old actually would, by trying to hit cars in the parking lot. Also, the fact that that's somehow programmed into the game. I love all of it. I love it all. I do.
Yeah,
every bit of it.
It's an advanced game to have that many voice samples in it. Bart's just not appreciative.
And that does bring us to the end of Marge Be Not Proud. Ryan, is there anything else that you'd like to point out on this episode before we get out of here?
Bart is a lot better at faking enthusiasm for gifts that he doesn't want than I am. I don't have the energy for it. I get something I don't want, I'm just like, thanks.
Great.
It's terrible.
Appreciate that. And then just put a glass on top of it immediately. Excellent. Man, Ryan, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. It's a lot of fun talking to you. You're obviously a huge Simpsons fan and bring a lot of knowledge and insight. I love the trivia that you brought, so thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thank y'all so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Absolutely.
On your game today, sir. On your game.
Very much so. Richie, real quick, you too. Is there anything that you or that book of yours want to point out before we're done today?
Well, I don't have you two with me, but my Simpsons guide, The Simpsons, A Complete Guide to Our Favorite Family, did point out the sign we didn't mention in front of the Try and Save. It said, in honor of the birth of our Savior, Try and Save is open all day Christmas. Which, back in 1995 days, that pretty much never happens. It's pretty
that's kind of a lost joke because of how common that is, but back then that definitely wasn't a thing for the most part.
But yeah, other than that, this is another episode that it did hit you hard as a kid, but it definitely hit you harder as an adult when you understand all the emotions more. Not that you don't understand it as a young person, but, you know, being at the age where people have kids, you can totally relate to Marge throughout this entire episode, which I like when they do that with Marge and Lisa, where they give them a lot more depth and things like that. And you actually get to see the sweeter side of Bart and actually get to see him hurting from causing pain to his mother. So there's a lot of emotion in this episode, but it definitely is what brings it all home.
Again, we said it at the top, but it's the art, the heart, and the smart that all come together, and this is a great blend of all three. It just so happens to be at Christmas, but I think this episode could have played even without the holiday, and it would have been just as good. I think it was just, you know, partially because of the timing, and the holidays does put a little bit more weight on it, I suppose. I think we covered pretty much everything I had. Like I said, it was a real life story that happened to Mike Scully, or based on a real life event that happened to him. This was the second Christmas episode ever, which I thought is just kind of interesting that we made it 7 years before they took advantage of the holiday. Part of that was due to the fact that there was always pressure from the network that holiday episodes aren't as valuable because they feel like they cannot play them year round, which I don't even think is true. I feel like they play Christmas episodes not at Christmas fairly frequently. The only other thing we missed, though, this is actually one of only 3 episodes to not feature Harry Shearer. He did not have any of his characters appear in this episode. The first episode was actually Treehouse of Horror, the very first one, and then he'll go on again in the Simpsons Guy, which is the Family Guy crossover. One other actually fun fact I forgot too is Raphael Bob Waksberg, who is the creator of the show BoJack Horseman, actually cites this as his favorite Simpsons episode ever, and he cites the Simpsons show in general as a huge influence on his life and career.
That totally makes sense. As someone who recently binge watched all of BoJack Horseman, like the guilt and all that feeling in this episode, that totally is relatable to BoJack in my mind.
It makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that is going to do it for this week's Best Darn Diddly Review Show. Again, we had so much fun talking to Ryan Feuerhelm today, bringing the insight that only a journalist teacher can. Thank you again, Ryan. It was a pleasure having you. I'd love to have you back on again one day.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I'm definitely be happy to be back.
Awesome. Great. Is there anything you want to plug? You want to tell people how to follow you online, or you tell them to not follow you online, or any of the above?
Please don't search me on Google. But I do have
The number one way to get people to not search you on Google is to make that request, by the way.
How do you spell your last name?
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to say that.
He'll never tell.
I do have a Twitter, though. It's the number 27RFF. I don't post on there a lot, but it's just mainly a bunch of screenshots from my Switch.
Right on. Very cool. Again, thank you so much. Richie, go ahead and tell everyone where they can follow. Just, you got this from here. Do our plugs.
You can follow Miles at MrMostDaysOff. You can follow me at theWizKid23. But most importantly, follow our show. That's at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY. It works on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you check us out on patreon.com/bestdarndiddly. Support our show. Buy our shirts on tpublic.com, or you can buy any shirt on popthreads.com and use our code Simpsons at checkout to get a 15% discount.
As always, we appreciate you so much tuning in to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. It means so much every time you hit that download button, tell a friend, all of that good stuff. Everything helps. We really, really appreciate it. And the WizKid and I will be back again next week, hopefully to bowl you over with our review of Team Homer.
Yes, I will be there talking, and so will Captain What's-His-Name.
Until next time, be cromulent to each other.
Hey, this is the Toph, host of the Gravity Beard Podcast, a variety show with interviews and discussions on a wide range of topics. Our guests have included a viral YouTube star, a former child actor. We've even had a guy on who may have solved the D.B. Cooper case. It's a delicious box of audio chocolate. You never know what you'll get. Find it on Podbean, iTunes, and other places you listen to podcasts. It's the Gravity Beard Podcast. It's what your ears will want to be listening to.